Hey Internet, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the John Grave Show, talking to everybody about The Walking Dead. And I'll be fair, this episode, they really did do a lot to make me like a lot more of the characters, and they did focus way more upon the people in which that I did want to know about a little bit more. And they did sort of kill off a few more people out there who really didn't attribute to much. But they did raise way more questions as to what in the world was going on with their lives. Namely, the one guy two of the guys early on. One of them was a guy who ran off, who said that Rick was leading them to their deaths because Carter was dead, and he pretty much sort of ran off on his own and got eaten and got killed. And the same thing can be said for the kid over there who had who had the hat on, who pulled out his gun and fired off his gun and attracted way more zombies and shooting one of the other black guys in the leg, and ran off on his own to get eaten somewhere else. Of course, like the girl in the group, she did twist her ankle, so of course that's sort of how this thing goes. And pretty much from there on, it pretty much pulls up a few ultimatums, or at least it breaks it down into three little parts over here, in which that it will be nice to talk about. First, you have the Rick and the leading away party. The leading away party is still sort of doing its thing of leading everybody away, but after hearing a little bit of how things were going, Daryl really wanted to go back and help everybody out, even though they pretty much told him that he had to stay. He leaves, but he comes back in the end. And Rick is running off on his own to go get the RV so that he can lead the zombies away that are breaking off. However, doing so, Rick runs into some zombies, and around this time he breaks his knife. Last of Us style, and pulls a machete out of one of the zombie soldiers, and it appears as though that he nicked his hand on it. A lot of people may think that's a bite, but it really isn't. Like that cut was too fresh, and it was bleeding too much for that to be a bite mark. So that is sort of how that goes. A few of the other people, they did get bit which cuts over to part number 2, which is the Michonne and the survivors, Michonne and Glenn, because they break off as well. Glenn and Nicholas break off to go and set a building on fire to lead the zombies away, and of course that leaves Michonne and Heath with all these other people, so that they can pretty much get away and head back to Alexandria. However, because of all this, Heath is pretty much sort of doing this whole thing, which actually for this episode, there was actually a pretty nice thing going on, because Heath did actually hear what Rick said about leaving them behind, because some of them, they may not make it. And Rick was actually right. A lot of them didn't actually make it because of the fact that either A, they're not strong enough, or B, they're wounded. And even though they didn't want to leave them behind, some people, they still got eaten. And pretty much how that went on, though, if you look at the confrontation between Heath and Michonne, it's more or less like Heath is angry. Heath was angry because he said something about leaving them behind, and he doesn't want to leave his people behind. But Michonne had to break that down for him of listen, you haven't made the choices in which that we made. Choices which could get you killed, and you never had to kill people who tried to come after you and kill you back. So really, you have no grounds to be angry about to be angry at us. And yes, we know that he's going on plenty of runs, and he has to kill a lot of zombies. However, a lot of them really kind of haven't had to cross that barrier to kill other people and look at it from a survivalist or pretty much even a tribalistic mentality, because a lot of them still sort of have that killing people is wrong and you can't do that type of mentality, as we already know, and it can lead them to getting killed. Or pretty much that they can't handle it, which brings me over, which is a wonderful segue over to the Glenn and Nicholas sub-story of Nicholas is going through some major withdrawals, and please believe me, I was one of those people out there who was pretty much expecting Nicholas to sort of change and actually try way harder and actually see him pop up in way more episodes. But yeah, that kind of didn't happen, especially since he was one of those people out there who couldn't deal with it. I mean, he had led so many of his friends away and left them to die that he just couldn't fucking handle it. Even when he seen one of his older people, I believe his name was William, who was now zombified and trapped under a car, he had a hard enough time and just trying to deal with that. And yeah, things they don't go as planned as all of these zombies and shit, as that they crowd in on them, and that shit slowly breaks down. It slowly hits Glenn and Nicholas as they're holed up in the alley on top of a garbage can until Nicholas freaks out and shoots himself, and then they both fall into the pit of zombies. And a lot of us are hoping that Glenn doesn't die there. We really hope he doesn't, but even if Glenn can make it out of there somehow, there still is the problem of who is going to lead all of those zombies away, especially since that they're already, I mean, like, if that is Nicholas' body in which that they're eating, the question is, how is Glenn going to get away without getting bitten in this massive sea of zombies, unless the blood that is on Nicholas's body is pouring onto Glenn's body and is masking his scent so that he can get away. You know, like how they did back in the first episode. I don't know why they don't do that more. I really don't know why they don't do that more. But either way, it cuts from that to Michonne and the Alexandria group. Well, Michonne and Heath and everybody else. And of course, as it goes on, two zombies are inside of the store with them. They got to kill those, draw more, and as they're breaking out, they lose the girl who falls, and they could have saved her, but they ate her body. Then they ate the other guy who had a wife and chewed up his body as everybody else got away, and that's pretty much what happened. And they had to leave, and then they went back, and then they got back to Alexandria, and they are hoping that Glenn and Nicholas are still alive. Well, we know Nicholas is dead. Really isn't too much information upon Glenn, because Glenn has been busting that like off screen, like I'm alright stuff as of late. And cutting over to Rick gets into position to save everybody, or at least lead the zombies away, but is attacked by 5 random people, or at least by 2 random guys he kills them both, and sees their family sneaking up on the side of the RV. And it's something that actually made me like Rick a lot, because Rick is the guy now who pretty much says, I killed 2 guys in self-defense, and they had a baby with them. This is so terrible. Their friends are sneaking up behind me. Instead of me, like, trying to reason with them, or at the very least get them a gunpoint and trying to talk to them, I'm just gonna, just grab my AK-47 and shoot them my goddamn RV and murder those fuckers and leave them for the goddamn zombies. I love that man, because that is a mentality in which that I probably would have had at that point in time. But either way, this episode, it does end in a very Cliff Note-esque type of manner, and I really hope that everybody's okay and everything's alright. Please tell me what you think about this down there in the comment section. I'll catch you guys on the next John Grave Show. Please keep watching anime, keep playing video games. I'm out.